You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 58, Enliven Your Inner Genius. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, my friend, and welcome to another episode. I hope you're doing well. Have you thought about your omega-3 game over the past week? I hope so. I think it's one of the few supplements that's really a must, unless you're hypervigilant about your regular fish consumption. Adequate amounts of omega-3s and their metabolites, the fancy, newly discovered specialized pro-resolving mediators, can do wonders for every cell in and your body as a whole. And remember that you want fresh fish oil that hasn't had a chance to chemically change through oxidation. Remember that most of them have oxidized before their expiration date, so it takes some focused effort to get a supplement that actually does the things you want it to do in your body, but is so worth it. And once you find a good brand, you can just stick with it and replace it frequently as it gets used up. I hope to always keep these podcasts helpful and informative, but also short and non-overwhelming. I never want you to feel like it's just more stuff that you have to do, but don't have time for. Of course, you can and should always choose what's worth it to you to implement in your personal plan to age like a professional, so that 40 years from now, you've still got amazing quality of life and freedom of movement and ability to make a difference. But today, I'm going to give you an assignment for the week. Are you up for it? It's something I want all of us, including me, to get a little better at doing habitually or automatically, especially as we gain more life experience. And it won't take any extra time out of your day at all. We all know that we live in a world where everything is sort of fleeting, right? I mean, I know the only permanent thing is impermanence or whatever the saying is, but it seems like that's just getting more pronounced now for some reason. Like, we don't print photographs, we just look at pixels on our screen for a few seconds. We're doing some home renovations at my house, and we just pulled out a huge pile of CDs and DVDs that I had all neatly organized in this entertainment center that we're tearing down. And they feel so archaic. Who owns physical media anymore? Clutter-wise, it's awesome to not have to store a bunch of stuff, but it kind of feels like everything isn't really real. It only exists for a few seconds or minutes, and then it's gone. We're obsessed with these conduits of never-ending information and entertainment, called screens, but it's all gone from our screen as quickly as it came. We're being conditioned to keep chasing, keep searching, keep scrolling, keep listening, keep watching. But why? Do we ever get to the point where we've had enough? How can we be happy with what we have if there's always something else? I know you've seen people who are out on a date at a restaurant, but they both are just scrolling on their phones and not even connecting with each other or enjoying the food they're eating. Romantic. Or people at a beautiful beach who aren't even enjoying their day in paradise because they're obsessively trying to get their selfie angle just right. Or people who paid for an immersive IMAX movie experience, but they're ignoring the giant screen and constantly checking their little screen. Hello, there's a fiery crash. Tom Cruise might be dead, and you're checking your Twitter feed? What is the cost of all this opportunity to move on to the next thing, and the thing after that, and the thing after that? We know that the opportunity to have 10 or 100 times as many internet friends instead of real friends leads to loneliness. The opportunity to be informed of all of the world's events as they unfold leads to depression. People who watched more than 6 hours of news coverage of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing had more PTSD symptoms than the people who were actually there and possibly injured when the bomb went off. And we talked about this a little a few weeks ago in my episode called Calorie Casino, but the conditioned drive for more flavor, more food, and bigger quantities of food actually decreases our pleasure from the food. This all seems pretty backward, but it's for sure a modern problem, right? Leonardo da Vinci once wrote in one of his notebooks sometime around 1500, quote, "The average human looks without seeing, listens without hearing, touches without feeling, eats without tasting, moves without physical awareness, inhales without awareness of odor or fragrance, and talks without thinking." End quote. Oh, so this moving through life without actually experiencing it thing has been a problem for more than 500 years. I do think having access to the whole world on a piece of plastic and glass in our pocket has amplified this issue, but one of the smartest people to ever live recognized it a long, long time ago. Most people know that Leonardo da Vinci was amazing. He was an incredible painter, scientist, inventor, musician, singer, chef, and a lot more. And he was even a good dresser, apparently. If it was important, he was probably the best in the world at it. Way back, probably 17 or more years ago, I listened to an audiobook that sort of changed the way I look at the world. More like it was the start of a cascade of things that have shaped how I see things. This was back when I would go to the library and browse the shelves of audiobook CDs and then listen to them on the CD player in my car while I was driving. I couldn't listen to them while I was cleaning or walking or pulling weeds or anything because the discs were just in my car. But it was still the beginning of something I've come to really love doing. And one of the first books I found that I really loved was How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci by Michael Gelb. It was awesome. I went back to the library and got all the other books by Michael Gelb and the other books that he referenced in those books. This is why it was the beginning of finding awesome stuff that I love through a means other than just what I happened to notice on the shelf of the library. I found a lot of cool things through the references he made, like it's the reason I taught all my boys to read when they were 2, because he referenced in passing to a book called How to Teach Your Baby to Read by Glenn Doman. Anyhow, I can still hear Michael Gelb's voice and his kind of fake laugh that he does as he's talking. It's endearing. I kind of like it. In his first book, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, Gelb outlines 7 aspects of Leonardo's genius and how to uplevel yourself by incorporating those qualities into your own life. One of those qualities is sensazione, or the refinement of your senses, as a means of enlivening your experience. The development and refinement of his senses was serious business to him. Da Vinci biographer Sergei Bramley compares Leonardo's program of sensory development and refinement to an athlete's training regimen. He writes, quote, "Just as an athlete develops his muscles, Leonardo trained his senses, educating his observant faculties. We know from his notebooks the kind of mental gymnastics he put himself through." End quote. And this disciplined development of his senses was not just a curiosity or for fun or pleasure. It's a big part of what made him such a genius. In his Codex on the Flight of Birds, Leonardo recounted minutiae about the movements of feathers and wings in flight that remained unconfirmed and not fully appreciated until the development of slow-motion moving pictures. Crazy! His painting genius came from his ability to capture unprecedented subtleties of human expression in his work that other people just couldn't come close to because they didn't see the way he saw, because they didn't train their sense of sight the way he trained his. He liked to have a musician play while he painted. His painting studio usually had flowers and perfumes, and he took great care to wear the best clothes he could afford, savoring the feel of velvet and silk. He knew that senses aren't just the conduits of pleasure and pain, but the midwives of intelligence. Plenty of people have 5 senses, but no sensory intelligence to speak of. I'm probably one of them. Who knows? But being more mindful of deliberately using our senses makes us more of who we are. It makes us better at being who we are. It helps us experience our lives more fully. I would say that we won't have as much good to give in the world if we don't fully experience our lives. If we want to live a masterpiece life, we need to string together some masterpiece years. If we want to have a masterpiece year, we need to string together some masterpiece days. If we zombie walk our way through our day, checking off our to-do items without really seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, or touching, can we really call it a masterpiece day? Was it a day fully lived? What would you say is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? The sweetest sound you've ever heard? The best thing you ever tasted? What about just in the past 24 hours? Do you know the best thing you smelled or saw or touched? Did you even notice? Did you pause? Did you appreciate it? How do you think your life might be different if you fully noticed more of your sensory experiences and paused to experience them more fully? What sense do you tend to notice the most? The least. Hey there, just a quick interruption to say I think the jury's still kind of out on how bad and in what way it's really bad to put aluminum on your skin, but it doesn't seem great, and I figured, why not avoid it? Well, because all of the aluminum-free deodorants I ever tried didn't work. Until I tried Lume. This is the first aluminum-free deodorant I ever tried that actually worked. I was instantly converted. Then, over time, I discovered that the answer to my whole family's itchy skin after every shower problem is Lume's acidified body wash. It's awesome, and their acidified body butter keeps our skin soft and hydrated. They even have a laundry product that makes your clothes smell great. I can't say enough good about Lume. Plus, their commercials are hilarious. You should watch one on YouTube if you haven't seen one yet. If you want to give Lume a try, there's a link in the show notes that will give you $5 off your order. My favorite is the Pink Peony Body Wash. It smells like washing yourself with bubble gum, which I wouldn't recommend, but I do recommend Lume. Okay, back to the show. I love photography. It makes me so happy. It's one of the things that sometimes or often takes me out of the present moment. I miss out on the fullness of some experiences, especially with my family, because I'm busy documenting and focusing and monkeying around with my aperture and white balance. But it's also one of the things that has taught me to see differently. I'm not any kind of sense of sight genius like real artists are, but when I really started learning more about photography, I started consistently and thoroughly seeing light for the first time. It's fun to look around and intuitively know what light is best for portraits, or landscapes, or macros, or for showcasing texture, or color, or pattern. And it has made me pause many times and just marvel at the beauty of the quality of the light, even if I don't have my camera with me. I know good lighting when I see it. My all-time favorite school subject was chemistry. I love it. I was telling my son a little while ago that I would totally sit down and balance equations just for fun. Why would anyone do a crossword puzzle or Sudoku when they could figure out where all the electrons go? Come on. And I still have my molecular model kit from 1999 just in case I get a hankering to throw together some carbon atoms with double or even triple bonds. Ooh. One of the basic things you do in chemistry lab is to distill liquids. You can take a liquid with lots of different components and separate them out. Usually you have the goal of purifying one of those elements. Like you could take seawater that has salt and other minerals and bacteria and waste products, all that stuff dissolved in it, and distill it to get just pure water. There's also chemical extraction, which is often used with botanicals to make things like herbal remedies. It has more steps, but the goal is still to get this pure substance, something separated from all of the other nonsense that surrounds it. The point of going through the distillation or extraction process is to get a pure form of that thing that you want, because it's valuable and worth working for and holding on to. Robert Emmons wrote a book called Gratitude Works, and in there he says, quote, "Gratitude journaling promotes the savoring of positive life experiences and situations so that we can distill the maximum satisfaction and enjoyment from them. This promotes a shift in consciousness from what we are lacking to the abundance that surrounds us. Gratitude leads us to affirm and acknowledge the good things in our lives. And because you can't be grateful and negative at the same time, it counteracts feelings of envy, anger, greed, and other states harmful to happiness." End quote. Savoring distills maximum satisfaction from our life experiences. Savoring is like an extraction process for positive emotions. We can extract the value essence of those positive feelings from the rest of our life experience and benefit from them more fully. We can keep and savor the positive and have the waste products of our distillation process be envy, anger, and greed. Pretty cool, right? And thus we've arrived at your assignment for the week. Did you forget that I was going to give you an assignment today? I think we can be more of who we are and who we want to be by using our senses to actually experience our lives. Not to be like the people Leonardo talked about who look without seeing, hear without listening, and move without being aware. And that we can extract and distill more valuable awesomeness from our experiences if we savor them. So your assignment this week is to find something to really savor every day. Can you do it? You don't have to spend any extra time on this assignment, but you can if you want to. You just need to notice and experience and mentally pause there and savor a few seconds longer than you normally would. Most of the time it'll be a sensory experience, but it doesn't have to be. Remember sensazione. Developing your sensory awareness will increase your pleasure and enjoyment, but it will also increase your potential for genius, Leonardo style. I've always been fascinated by synesthesia, the production of one sense experience through the stimulation of another sense. This synergy of the senses is one of the secrets of great artists and scientists. Drawing music or making colors into sounds. You can even use it to help you solve problems. Way back in episode 4, we talked about embodiment. There's a practice called focusing where you get a felt sense of the problem you're working on. It's pretty cool stuff. Go back and listen to episode 4 if you're interested in learning more about it. I had never really thought about it before, but it's totally a way of using synesthesia to help you solve your issue. You give the problem you're working on a felt sense, a color or a shape, or a texture, or a temperature. Then you feel through that and discover what texture, taste, shape, color, or sound the problem wants. Then you can use those sensory experiences to discover possible solutions. Kind of weird, but with a thread of genius woven in. We can also savor experiences that aren't as tied to the 5 senses, like savoring the hard work you put into something, or the courage it took to do something. The self-mastery you used to finally reach your goal. Savor the faith you had to act. What are you most proud of accomplishing? Savor that. How did you grow stronger from a challenge? Savor that. I'm a fan of savoring sweetness, both on your tongue and emotionally, but what about the saltiness? You can savor how the salt brings out the flavor of your pistachio, but you can also savor the saltiness of your experiences. Savor your blood, sweat, and tears. You can even savor the removal of bitterness. I recently had a horrible stomachache. It only lasted for a few hours, but afterward I was like on a high from feeling almost normal again. I was downstairs watching a movie with my family. They were trying to actually watch the show, and I kept telling them how good it felt to not be doubled over in pain anymore and to consider that maybe I could even eat something without wanting to die. So fabulous. We can totally savor the normal things, being able to breathe through our nose, having a soft pillow to sleep on at night, the temperature of the air-conditioned air, the sound of silence, the stretchiness of our exercise leggings, the smell of our leather purse. There are so many choices. Savor the big things, the small things, whatever's happening in the present moment, things that have happened in the past, even intentions for what you want to have happen in the future. There's no excuse to not take a minute to savor something. Even when you're really busy, you can mentally stay in that spot for a few seconds and savor instead of letting your mind wander off to the next thing and the thing after that. That's what everyone else does. But we're not like most people. Make your homework assignment really easy, but if you think it's fun and not overwhelming to take it to the next level, consider architecting your environment to help provide you with rich sensory experiences. The quality of stimulation provided by your external environment is actually crucial to your brain development and creative abilities. I'm sure you know that fluorescent junk lighting in stark walls or cubicles is really bad for your brain and creativity. Adding beloved artwork and changing it periodically, having full spectrum lighting, soothing music, textures like in furniture and plants, smells from flowers or essential oils, even notepads nearby with markers so you can doodle are all good for your inner genius. And of course, be present enough to notice your experience of all of those things. I hope that you can distill and extract maximum enjoyment from your life experiences by consciously savoring the big things and the little things every day, and that I've convinced you that developing your ability to use all of your senses makes you more of who you are at your best. Don't take my word for it, though. See what you notice for yourself as you do your homework assignment this week. I think that pausing and noticing and fully enjoying the pleasures of life decreases my desire to chase more and more pleasure. It's like the therapist I talked about in the Calorie Casino episode who treats overeating by having her clients really savor the taste of fine chocolate. The experience she crafts for them of sitting in a darkened room and allowing the chocolate to fully melt in their mouth helps them stop mindlessly eating bags and bags of gummy bears or whatever. They were chasing taste pleasure, but never really getting it before. So their wanting went up, but their liking went down. And the answer was not more quantity, it was more quality and more presence. I would love to hear what you savor during your day. Come on over to my free community and let me know in the community tab. Today, I savored the greenness of my houseplant's leaves, or my favorite thing to savor is the smell of pine needles, or I was having a bad day, but I still took 10 seconds to savor how comfortable my shoes are to walk in. Whatever it is, I think we can all benefit from savoring things ourselves and hearing what other people savor. I know I would love to hear yours. I especially want you to savor your accomplishments, no matter how small. Whenever you do something that you told yourself you would do, savor that sense of self-mastery. If you like the idea of sensazione, I've put together some quick ideas of how to cultivate each of your 5 senses. They're really fast, so it won't take much time at all, but you can help connect more with your senses, which is good for your inner genius. You can find both the free community and the quickly connect with your senses short daily prompts at the link in the show notes. You can also visit healthcouragecollective.com anytime to look for links. Just healthcouragecollective.com. I've been meaning to get that up for a while now, so my 14-year-old was helping me with it while he was out of school for the summer. Baby steps. Thank you for being here today. Next week, we're going to talk about aging like a pro by preventing injuries. Until then, enliven your experience by cultivating your senses and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.